Have you ever been treated like the black sheep of your family, the one destined to fail? Well, imagine chasing your biggest dream, only to have your parents dismiss it, your girlfriend betray you, and your own brother stab you in the back. That was my life. But what they didn't know is that one day I'd make them regret everything. If you've ever been underestimated or told you'd never make it, smash that like button right now. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around to the end because this revenge, oh, it's chef's kiss satisfying. Andrew Harper was 32 years old and living in Seattle, a city full of music, but for him, it felt suffocating. By day, he worked low-paying gigs at local cafes, and by night, he poured his heart into his worn-out acoustic guitar, chasing the dream of performing for thousands one day. But inside the walls of his family home, that dream didn't matter. Andrew, when are you going to get a real job? His father, James, would say during dinner, look at your brother, David. Stable career, six-figure salary. You should take notes. Every word cut deeper than the last. His mother, Linda, wasn't any kinder. In her eyes, music wasn't a career. It was a failure waiting to happen. Andrew kept silent most of the time, swallowing the pain. But inside, he burned with quiet defiance. The only thing keeping him sane was Sarah, his girlfriend of 2 years. She was an accountant, grounded, stable, logical, but she believed in him when no one else did. One day, babe, you're going to be on stage, she'd whisper, resting her head on his shoulder. And when that happens, I'll be there, front row. Those nights with Sarah, eating cold pizza after failed gigs, gave him hope. Together, they dreamed of a life where Andrew's music mattered. But dreams, they have a way of colliding with reality. Thanksgiving at the Harper household was always tense, but this year, it was brutal. Andrew decided to bring Sarah along, hoping maybe, just maybe, his family would finally see the real him. The moment they walked in, though, Andrew felt the energy shift. His brother David was the star of the evening, as always. His parents gushed about his promotions, his new car, his perfect life. Andrew sat quietly, forcing smiles, pretending not to notice the sideways glances. But then something happened that shattered everything. On his way to grab dessert, he overheard his parents whispering in the kitchen. Sarah's lovely, his mother said softly. She'd be better off with David, his father replied. At least he can provide for her. Andrew froze, his chest tightened, heart pounding. He wanted to scream, but instead, he returned to the table, silent, numb, broken. From that day on, Sarah started acting different, distant, distracted. And then the truth came crashing down. It was a cold, rainy Friday night when Andrew decided to surprise Sarah after work. He brought flowers, hoping to rekindle whatever had changed between them. But when he pulled into the parking lot of her apartment, his world stopped. David's car was there. Confused, Andrew rushed inside, his hands trembling, stomach churning. The elevator ride felt endless. And then the door opened. There they were, Sarah and David, together. Her face went pale, his smirk infuriating. Andrew, I can explain, Sarah stammered. Don't bother, Andrew whispered, voice cracking. You chose him. He turned and walked out. Rain drenched his face, but he didn't feel it. Inside, he was empty. The weeks that followed were hell. Andrew stopped writing music. He barely ate. Nights stretched into endless hours of staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in his head. But then came the final straw. At a family dinner weeks later, his father said it casually, like a joke. You know, Sarah made the right choice. David can take care of her. You need to grow up. That was it. Andrew stood up from the table, shaking with rage. You've never believed in me. Not once. But one day, you're going to regret every word. The room went silent. His parents looked stunned. David smirked. Sarah avoided his gaze. That night, Andrew packed his life into 2 duffel bags. With just $2,000 to his name, he bought a bus ticket and left Seattle behind. Austin, Texas. The city was alive with music, but for Andrew, it was terrifying. He rented a tiny, musty apartment with peeling paint and barely enough space to breathe. Finding gigs was harder than he imagined. Record labels didn't answer. Bars barely paid enough to cover food. Some nights, he considered giving up entirely. But then he closed his eyes, hear Sarah's betrayal, his father's insults, David's smirk, and something inside him hardened. This wasn't just about music anymore. This was about proving them wrong. Cliffhanger for part 1 ending. And that's when everything began to change. One night, after another failed audition, Andrew stumbled into Soundwave Studio, a place that would change his life forever. Inside, he met someone who understood his pain, someone who would become the key to his redemption. But he had no idea that his journey to success would lead him right back to the people who broke him. And when he finally faced them again, it wouldn't just be a reunion. It would be revenge. Last time, we left Andrew Harper broken, betrayed by his own brother David, abandoned by Sarah, the woman he loved, and disowned by his parents, who never believed in his music. But this is the part where everything changes. If you've ever been told your dreams are impossible, if you've ever been laughed at, betrayed, or underestimated, stick around. This is a story of how Andrew turned heartbreak into a symphony of revenge. And trust me, by the end, you'll be cheering louder than the crowd at his first sold-out concert. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more incredible stories like this. The first 6 months in Austin were hell. Andrew was living in a cramped, musty apartment, walls yellowing from years of neglect, with barely enough money for instant noodles and cheap coffee. He took small studio assistant jobs at Soundwave Studio, plugging cables, fetching coffee, and cleaning up after artists who didn't even know his name. At night, he'd lie awake, staring at the water-stained ceiling, his chest tight with anxiety. He'd think about Seattle, his parents, David, Sarah. All of them thought he'd fail. Sometimes he wondered if they were right. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. It forces you to choose. Stay down or fight back. And Andrew, he fought. One night at the studio, he met Elizabeth Monroe, a sharp, quick-witted music producer who was just as tired of the industry's gatekeeping as he was. She wasn't flashy, wasn't loud, but when she spoke about music, it was electric. Over takeout dinners and late-night mixing sessions, they bonded over shared struggles. Both overlooked, both doubted, both sick of being told they weren't good enough. One night, while listening to a rough demo by an unknown artist named Mia, Elizabeth looked at Andrew and said, "Why are we working so hard to make someone else's dream happen when we could build our own?" Those words lit a fire. It was the birth of underdog music. Starting underdog music was chaos. They sold old gear, maxed out credit cards, skipped meals, and practically lived at the studio. At first, nobody believed in them. Artists walked away, investors laughed, and labels called them small-time nobodies. But Andrew didn't care. He poured his soul into every single track they produced. Then came the breakthrough. Mia's single, Chasing Shadows, went viral on TikTok. Suddenly, radio stations were calling. Playlists were blowing up, and underdog music had something nobody could ignore: momentum. Within 3 years, underdog music wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Mia's album hit number 4 on Billboard. 3 other indie artists under the label were gaining national attention. And then came the big one, a Grammy nomination for Best Independent Album. Andrew stood in the middle of their brand new glass-walled studio, holding the nomination email, shaking, tears welling up in his eyes. After years of rejection, he had made it, and yet something still burned inside him. It wasn't enough to succeed. He wanted his family, the people who doubted him, laughed at him, abandoned him, to see it. Elizabeth noticed his silence that night and said softly, "Invite them to the showcase concert. Show them who you become." 3 months later, Underdog Music hosted its biggest event yet, a live showcase featuring their artists, industry leaders, and over 1,500 attendees. Andrew sent an invitation to his family. To his surprise, they came. When Andrew spotted them, his parents, James and Linda, and yes, even David and Sarah, his heart pounded like a kick drum. David, polished as always, smirked and muttered, "Didn't expect this from you, Andy. Guess even broken clocks are right twice a day." Andrew ignored him. This wasn't about David anymore. This was about proving himself. The lights dimmed. The crowd roared. Andrew stepped onto stage. For the first time in his life, all eyes were on him, and not with judgment, but with admiration. He shared his story, the sleepless nights, the heartbreak, the rejection, the betrayal. And then he said, "To anyone who's ever been told they'll never make it, let this night be proof they were wrong." The audience exploded. Cameras flashed. Industry executives leaned forward, whispering his name. And his family? Silent. No smug smiles now. Just a weight of regret settling in their eyes. After the show, David approached him, suddenly humble. "Listen, man, maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I was thinking with my connections in finance, maybe we could, partner on something big." Andrew smiled, calm, collected. "David, you once told me I'd never make a dime off music. You were wrong. And I built this without you. Without any of you. So no, I don't need you now." David froze. Sarah shifted awkwardly beside him, her face pale. For the first time, Andrew didn't feel small. He felt free. Months later, Underdog Music officially became one of the top independent labels in the U.S. Andrew bought a modern loft overlooking downtown Austin, upgraded the studio, and even started funding scholarships for struggling musicians. One night, Elizabeth asked him, "Do you ever regret leaving Seattle?" Andrew smiled, strumming the same worn guitar he'd played since childhood. "No, they thought I'd fail. But leaving was the first note in the best song I've ever written." Reflective wrap-up. Andrew's revenge wasn't about screaming or fighting back. It wasn't even about humiliating his family. It was about winning. About proving that no one, not family, not betrayal, not rejection, gets to decide your worth. And he didn't just prove them wrong. He built something bigger than their approval. That's the sweetest revenge of all. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible revenge stories. And let us know in the comments, what's the sweetest victory you've ever had over someone who doubted you?